Hey guys, it's Anna here from the Monday show of Fitness Confidential. As you well know, Fat, a documentary, is up on iTunes for pre-order, and we really need you guys to go pre-order it. Open up your iTunes app on any one of your devices, or go to itunes.com, search for Fat, a documentary, or just click on the show notes here and pre-order that documentary so we can go to number one in all of documentaries. We appreciate your support. Go pre-order Fat, a documentary.
Rockwood Saloon Authentic Apparel takes rock and roll fashion to a new level with their tees and tanks for men and women. They also make custom shirts, jackets, vests, pants, hoodies, beanies, and more. The Rockwood Graphics Department can design anything from your logo, t-shirt design, promo posters, band swag, and printed at great prices. From tour shirts and custom stage gear to killer threads for the street to the stage, Rockwood Saloon has it all. Rockwood Saloon, authentic rock and roll apparel for stage and street. World Tour tested for quality, comfort, style, and durability. Check them out at www.rockwoodsaloon.com. That's rockwoodsaloon.com.
Hey ladies, Sass Pants Designs will take that rock shirt that everyone has and make it your own in a flattering, sassy, and simple way. There are one-of-a-kind tank tops, lace-up tees, and tube top dresses already in stock. Check out the online store at sasspantsdesigns.com and like Sass Pants Designs on Facebook for special offers and custom orders. That's sasspantsdesigns.com, sasspantsdesigns.com. Sass Pants will make you the envy of the party.
Replay Guitar Exchange is your premier independent guitar store. Being independent is good. With all of the major brands, including new, vintage, and pre-owned, you can find the guitar, bass, amp, or accessory you are dreaming of. From vintage to the newest models, Replay Guitar Exchange can help you find that perfect piece. They have industry veteran expert staff, all players like you down to the owner. You aren't just getting a great guitar, you're getting the Replay difference. Find them online at replayguitar.com and find your dream guitar today.
Hi, this is Bobby Brown, and welcome to another fucking podcast.
You kids with your loud music and your Dan Fogelberg, your Zima, hula hoops, and Pac-Man video games, don't you see? People today have attention spans that can only be measured in nanoseconds.
See, son, old legends never die. They just lose weight.
He's like a legend and an out-of-work bum with a lot of life.
Hello, you crazy dead fucker!
Party time!
Yes, it is party time. Hello, Hollywood. Hello, world. And hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and it's always good to be seen. It is Tuesday night, and that means it is time for another fucking podcast. The interview show, the flagship show. Jesus Christ, I can't even talk, and I'm sober. Good times. Yeah. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope everybody enjoyed the Izzy Presley show yesterday. Talk about the evil of ketchup and hot dogs and why people are fucking idiots for calling people out for that. Oh, we talked about haters, and of course we talked about politics, which I usually don't like to get into too much, but, there's a witch hunt going on in Los Angeles for trying to find out who are Trump supporters. It's worse than trying to hide that you're gay in the 50s. It's ridiculous. So make sure you check that show out. And, of course, hit up all the social media at Real Izzy Presley, all the way across the board, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And, of course, the Facebook page for the show is Another Effin' Podcast. We got t-shirts available, so hit that shop now button and buy your t-shirts. We got Drunken Summit t-shirts. We've got Loyal Minion t-shirts. We've got I Love Van Hagar t-shirts. We got I Don't Want Your Fucking CD t-shirts. All that kind of good stuff. If you don't want my stupid t-shirts, of course, we all know that the PayPal is izzypresley@yahoo.com if you just want to support the show. That is fine. That is great. We love that. And thank you to everybody that did chime in and donate to the Great Babu's fundraiser, GoFundMe thing. I was wrong. They did not hit the goal, but some people did donate. So anybody that donated to that, thank you very much. Very, very much appreciated. We have an in-studio guest, finally, instead of just phoners for the last few weeks. Peter Pardini is joining us right now. He is he directed the Chicago documentary and the Vinnie Tortorich movie, which is called Fat, a documentary, which is pre-order available now. He's got a good story. So, ladies and gentlemen, Peter Pardini.
Hey.
You're much younger than I thought you would be.
What were you expecting?
I figured, mid-40s, early 50s, and all of a sudden this young cat shows up. I'm like, fuck, all right, cool, here we go.
Who's this guy? Looks like he just graduated from high school.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Where are you from?
Fresno, California.
Okay, so you're
so I'm pretty close.
Okay, so you're not a SoCal, but you're a California native.
Central, right? Like if you go, I think 5 miles outside of Fresno, it's the exact center of the state.
Oh, there you go.
Mathematically.
Okay. When did you get the itch for film?
Oh man, probably. I mean, very early on, but typical story of seeing something like Raiders of the Lost Ark and wondering the first time of like, oh, how did they do that? How did they do the dragging behind the car scene towards the end of the movie? How did they, how are things done? That's pretty much where I got the itch, and it's probably 6 or 7.
All right. So at what point did you decide that, fuck, this is what I want to do?
High school. I started making some movies with friends.
So about 2 years ago?
Right, yeah, exactly. It was, 2002 was when I first started really making movies with friends, and we made a feature film in high school that was awful.
Of course.
But I learned later on that, when I went to college and I started seeing what people were making in college, I realized how lucky I was to have friends that I could do that with in high school and get the shit out of the way, so to speak. So by, college, I was way ahead of the game, and people were making the stuff I was making in high school, because that's what happens when you start making movies. It's not good because you have good taste, but you have bad instincts.
Right. So you moved down here to go to college for film?
Yeah, I first went to San Francisco State for a year and didn't really, I'm a huge San Francisco sports fan because coming from Central California. And so I was excited to go there for that, but it was a little too artsy for me. And they didn't really have a film school that allowed students to partake until later on in college. So I went back home to Fresno after a year to basically just finish my general education. Then I came down here to Cal State Northridge.
Gotcha.
And majored in screenwriting because they didn't have a directing major. So
what did you learn about screenwriting?
What did I learn?
Yeah, in college. What do they teach you about screenwriting? Because I'm a novice to all this stuff. I just have ideas.
I had a few teachers, and they're all good in their own way. My second one more than the first one. I get the sense that a lot of screenwriting teachers and just teachers of creative arts in general tend to be very, very knowledgeable, and you have to be able to listen to what they're saying and not tell yourself, oh, well, this person wrote one episode of The Love Boat 40 years ago. I'm not going to listen to him because he's nobody. But it's the same thing as like filmmakers who came up in the 70s. They all admired this critic named Pauline Kael, who she's never made a movie. And they all loved her reviews so much because even though she didn't make movies and hadn't found success in that field, she could write about movies, and filmmakers could actually glean information from that. And it's the same thing with screenwriting teachers. Like, they're not going to write the scripts for you, but chances are that even the person next door will tell you what they think about a script or a screenplay, and you have to be able to listen to what they say. So in general, it's a lot of formatting is what we first got into, and just it all comes down to opinion. Like some of the teachers would just tell you, oh, well, I don't like scripts that do this. But the more I've written, the more I've just, at this age, 10 years later, I just am like, I'm just going to write it the way that someone will be able to see what I'm writing. I'm not going to worry about, obviously spelling and grammar are important. That's the most important. But beyond that, I'm not going to sit there and wonder, well, is this word respectable enough in this situation? Because I had a teacher who was like, you need to pick words that are this or that, but you can't just pick words that you can't make it plain. But sometimes plain is better. And it's about learning so much that you end up forgetting it and that you have the basics down. And there's a long-winded response, but
well, no, I thought it was an interesting response. I know, even if I'm writing lyrics, I tend to get too wordy, and maybe that's
lyrics.
Yeah, lyrics. But it's the same thing, and and going to the movie side of it, it's probably because I'm a fan of Kevin Smith. You know, if you want to talk about wordy.
But that works for him. It's like
Right.
when Inglourious Bastards came out, that was my favorite movie of the year. And, Tarantino is known for his wordiness. And critics, some of the negative reviews were like, oh, it's too much dialogue, or it wasn't as basic as that. I mean, because they obviously all know who Tarantino is.
Right.
But you have to find your own voice. And sometimes, in song lyrics, it can get too wordy, but sometimes wordy works because you're going for a certain style. But simple, I don't know what's the, it's like Occam's razor, or is that not the right? It's basically the simplest.
It's a big word like gymnasium.
The simplest solution is often the best. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what I'm trying to, that's the constant battle in writing is what's too simple. Is there such a thing as too simple, or are you just talking about boring?
Right.
Two different things.
It's funny you were talking about, learning from a critic. Do you think that Hollywood tries to appease the critics too much instead of just kind of doing what they really think and they want to do that's inside?
I don't think Hollywood tries to appease critics at all. I think it's the other way around. I think it's become where I'm not a Star Wars hater. I love.
Thank you.
I love Force Awakens. And I thought Force Awakens was great. I did not care for Last Jedi as much, but what I did notice was that I think, I could be wrong, but I think Last Jedi got better reviews than Force Awakens. And I think not because of anything Disney's doing, but I think that certain critics are scared to say that a Disney movie is bad. And
that's an excellent point. Never thought about that.
And I don't think, I honestly don't think Disney would or could do anything if you just told the truth, because Last Jedi had a lot of great things about it, but it also didn't. And it's okay to say that this is a B- and not an A-. You know what I mean?
I think the only thing I didn't like about The Last Jedi was Princess Leia flying through space.
Well, and there's so
like,
many, there's so many things. I mean,
right.
There's so many. We could go on for a whole episode about that. But
oh yeah,
you have an impossible situation, and they put themselves in that situation.
Right.
I mean, they bought it for $5 billion or $6 billion. I mean, they've got to make money. They've got to make the movies, but at the same time, it's that push-pull. Do you make it different, or do you make it exactly like the first ones? Because I'm in the camp where I'd like to see it like the first ones, because that's what Star Wars is to me.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people are in fear that, now it's going to be just like Avengers or just like Lord of the Rings, or they're going to try to make it like other things that aren't Star Wars. But at the same time, I don't really care. It's like,
right.
It's just a movie.
Yeah.
We still have the originals. Hopefully they can release the originals and release them the way they were. But at the same time, again, I don't care. It's a business decision. They're making money. That's part of it. You have to make money in order to have the freedom to do the smaller things. And, I think to answer your original question, I think that Hollywood, I was hearing something about Todd Phillips the other day, because he's doing that new Joker movie. Mm-hmm. And that looks great. And I think he started some subdivision of Warner's that's aimed at finding not necessarily younger filmmakers, but more indie filmmakers to do mid-budget movies, which I think is what Hollywood should be doing in addition to all the mega-budget movies they do.
Right. Well, I think that's something that Hollywood needs, is because all you see now is fucking comic book movies and chick flicks. It's like, and then your occasional action thriller or whatever, which is a flash in the pan and it's gone right away.
Yeah. The more comic book, the more movies that have where the language doesn't matter. Yeah. So like it has to do well abroad. So in China, it has to do really well. That's why you see movies like Fast and the Furious and Minions do really well in China. It's because it doesn't matter what they're saying.
Right.
It's almost a silent film to a certain degree. And that's great. I mean, you and I can sit here and say, oh, well, I think Hollywood should make Annie Hall or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest again. But if they're going to put $200 million up and make $3 billion on two movies, you and I would do that if we knew we were going to have hundreds of millions of dollars coming in the first 3 days of a movie opening.
Right. Well, I think the problem is too, as fans, we and especially as a music fan too, we forget about the business side of it. It's like we just want Kiss to go back to have the original 4 members and blah 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 blah, but we don't understand the business side of it
or the personal side of not being able to deal with each other. Or
exactly.
I mean, I don't know if you know anything about Chicago, but when they got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it was Peter Cetera was going to join them, and they were going to welcome him with. I mean, I was behind the scenes on this, and I saw what I saw, and Peter Cetera is one of the greatest singers of all time. There's no taking that away from him, but for whatever reason, he did not. He wanted them to say no, so he didn't have to, and he made a couple requests that were not accepted by both the Rock Hall and Chicago. And it had nothing to do with whether or not they wanted to play with him on stage. But people have asked me, and same with Kiss or whatever band, what's the one that keeps trying to get back together? Is it Van Halen?
Van Halen,
and then they can never do it because for whatever reason, it's like if you got divorced after 40 years or 30 years, like you don't want to be around that person. Like,
right. But I guess I look at the other side of it too. Is like it's pardon me. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a one-off, once in a lifetime thing to do something not only for you but to do it as a thank you for the fans, because I agree, the fans are the reason that you are there.
I agree.
It's like, dude, just bite the bullet and just go.
Steve
do
Perry
it.
did it. He came back with Journey. He didn't perform with them, but he came back, and that's what the fans really wanted to see. I mean, everyone wanted to see the original Chicago play, but it ended up being 5 of the 6 alive original members. So it was still a great night, but for whatever reason, I mean, he had left 30 years ago. 31 years ago. So it's like, I can't get inside of his head, and no one can. Right. So it's easy for people to say, well, why don't they just go on tour? Because they'd make a bunch of money, but it's not that easy.
But then again, the Eagles did it, and they fucking hate each other.
I agree.
Motley Crue. Here's another one. When Motley Crue reunited,
smarter businessmen than
they all had separate tour buses. They only saw each other on stage.
I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. We got some people checking in. Jacobus checking in from Florida. Scotty Strickland checking in from Canada. Takeoff. Melissa checking in from Minnesota. Jacobus actually doing research. Wow, that's shocking. He wasn't watching porn for once. Wants to know, how does it feel to win 2 film festivals and 4 awards for Chicago? Gosh, it's got to be awesome.
It was great because it took so long to make the movie. It took, I think, from start to the time it aired on CNN, it was 3.5 years. But from the time it premiered was almost 3. And, we premiered in Sedona, Arizona, which I was thinking would be a pretty good festival. Sedona's beautiful. We had done the sound mixing there. But I was blown away by how many people were at that film festival. I think it premiered to almost 1,000 people.
Oh, wow.
And it helped that the band was there. But when you work on something for 3 years and then the movie gets a standing ovation at the end and you believe it. So a lot of the time you go to film festivals with the movie, and I've been at festivals before, and you kind of get that polite golf clap.
Yeah.
But you can tell when there's an actual intent behind it, and I felt that for the first time in my career, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to work with a band like this that has enabled me to kind of vicariously almost live through their history and kind of get a little bit of that coming my way. So it was really nice to and then to win too.
Right.
So
in 2012 you did that World Tour Backstage Pass film. Was that something that you wanted to do on your own? Was that something you got hired by the band to do? How does that all start? Because I'm assuming that's what started the whole documentary.
So I got in with the band through a little bit of nepotism, where my uncle was. He is still a member of the band.
Oh, okay.
And so what happened was I basically was asked to come to Nashville to record the behind the scenes of their Christmas album, because everyone they were trying to hire, companies were costing way too much, and they wanted to just basically have someone there to film it, to archive it. And I did it for free because I just graduated from college. And I did a good enough job on that they had hired me to go on the road with them. And at a certain point, Fathom Events, who you'll see if you go to the movies, like they'll play like the opera, or they'll play a one-night-only screening of
Smokey and the Bandit!
Yeah, exactly. And so they approached Chicago to do a holiday concert / documentary film. And so I was their guy, so I got to do that. And that was really cool, too. It, I think, was in like 650 theaters for 2 nights. Not that many people went to go see it because there was not a whole lot of advertising going on the Fathom side, which the most people, the biggest audience was in Fresno, in my hometown, which because I saw the whole list of every venue that it was playing at. And Fresno, I think, had like 100 people in the theater, and everywhere else was like 3, 4. And I was thinking to myself, wait, Fresno's going to see this because I called the Fresno Bee and did an article, and no one else is seeing this. I was actually in Indianapolis with the group at the time, and I asked if I could take the night off and go watch the movie, and I was the only person in the movie theater. So it's ironic. It's good and ironic in a good way, where I got this opportunity to have my first feature be screened in 650 theaters at 24 years old.
That's amazing.
And that's amazing, but I don't know if it's karma or whatever, but the universe kind of evened that out by saying it's in the theaters, but no one's in there. So that was a good learning lesson for me to say that, like, doesn't matter how much work you put into something, unless there's someone getting behind it, it's never going to be seen. And that's, when the documentary did come out a few years later, that felt even sweeter because then you had, a big news network like CNN promoting it nonstop, and it got 2 million viewers or something, and then now it's on Netflix. So
yeah. Was it hard for you to put any bias aside, being related to somebody that's in the band?
No, because he was a new member at that point.
Okay,
so he had only been in the group for a year or two before I started, and I will say I did know all the guys, for a few years before I started making the big one that's on Netflix now. But at the same time, I mean, you've seen the movie. Like, they talk about their drug use, they talk about a death of their close friend. Like, it's not a puff piece,
right.
And it very easily could have been. So I was lucky that they kind of just let me do whatever I wanted, and they paid for it. And I edited it in my apartment in Studio City. And they never saw the movie until it was done. So, and never once, I don't care, because there was this whole thing right after it came out on CNN where one of the former members who was in it, had come out and said, like, oh, they changed my words or whatever. And you watch the movie, it's him saying the words on camera.
Exactly.
But I think that was a case of just pain of not being in the group for 20 plus years, and then seeing the guys who got rid of you talking about you, and they're all disagreeing with what you're saying. And I totally get that. But I had absolutely no interference because they're on the road 100 tour dates a year, 200 days out of the year.
Yeah.
And I was just in my apartment editing that thing. So,
were you surprised at all that Peter Cetera declined to be part of it?
Disappointed, but not surprised, because I was basically told from the get-go that it was very unlikely that he would do it. He just didn't want to do it. He thought, same thing, oh, well, they're going to make me look bad, and I don't know where that comes from other than I'm not in the group anymore. I don't, I think if HBO was producing it, and it was, because they all knew I was up front with everyone I asked. I told them, I said, this is paid for by the band. I need you to trust me that I'm making this movie. It's not the band. They tour. Like, they're not in the room with me telling me how to cut this thing.
Right.
And you just have to live with, because I still think if I hadn't finished it by now and I was still trying to get them, I'd still be trying to get them.
Right.
So but I do think if HBO had funded it, they would have all done it. But that's just
that makes
something you have
sense.
to live with. You have to come out with a movie at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Scotty from Canada says, yes, it's on Netflix Canada. I'm so checking it out tonight. There you go. And it's the thing that shocked me, because like I said, I have about a half an hour left in the film, and it's your typical rock and roll band story. I didn't know what to expect going into it, but I didn't expect the drug use and the womanizing and the airplane story is what.
Isn't that amazing? Can you imagine that now?
I was giddy. I'm watching that and be like, oh, that's so fucking awesome. Scotty, don't worry, we're not going to ruin it for you. But
there were stories that weren't in the movie about how they used to fly. Because traffic in certain cities, they'd take a helicopter to get to the venue. And so they actually flew up around the World Trade Centers and up to the face of the Statue of Liberty at certain points in helicopters. And it's just like, especially after 9/11. Like,
wow, yeah.
All that shit would never fly now.
Right.
No pun intended.
Right. Well, I mean, that was the beauty about the 70s.
Yeah.
It's like nobody gave a shit.
Plus,
Plus, there was no social media, you know.
No social media. I mean, you get in trouble now if you're caught smoking a blunt somewhere.
Right.
And it's like the shit they were doing, and just everyone. It's things everyone was doing then.
Yep, exactly.
So maybe there's a connection there with the rock and roll lifestyle. Not necessarily that you need to do drugs to be good, but that freedom of not no one telling you no, I guess.
Right. Well, I mean,
work for a while.
Did you watch the Motley Crue movie on Netflix?
No, I didn't. But
you need
someone
to.
was talking about it the other day.
You need to. It's great, and you know, you got the hardcore like, well, that didn't happen there, and that's like, dude, it's a biopic, whatever. It's
they got to condense.
And if you ever, the book is fucking huge. To get that into one, hour and a half, it's unbelievable. But
The Dirt, is that what it's called?
Yeah, The Dirt,
Yeah.
Dude, it's fucking great. But what I was getting at was, it's like, dude, this is, you watch that movie, and even the Chicago document. It's like, this is why we wanted to be rock stars when we were kids.
Yeah,
it's like, it wasn't about the music; it was about the lifestyles. Like, fucking, you pop one beer, all of a sudden, dude, there was Jack Daniels and cocaine and whores all over the place doing anything we wanted him to do, and it was awesome, and we just had to give him more drugs.
Well, it was just a free-for-all.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You can't believe the stories you're hearing are true. It's just because I'm 32, so it's like, I don't have any experience like that.
Yeah.
At all. And I don't think a lot of musicians now do. I think that I had this theory the other day. I think some of the reason why music in general kind of not necessarily is lacking, because the musicians are still great.
Yeah.
But I think that the reason some of the songs aren't hitting the way they used to is because people in general just aren't having real experiences. It's all through the internet or social media, and those have good applications, but it's also what is the experience of just looking at your phone and getting in an argument with someone?
It's one thing. It's like you hear a song, like, watch the video on YouTube or whatever. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Then you just move on.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going out and, I don't think you're not old enough to have enjoyed albums. Maybe now, but
I'm different because I did listen to a lot of albums when I was younger, but that was only because I had an uncle who's in music and a dad who was interested in that stuff. Like, I'd listen to Stevie Wonder, and I'd go through every album or every movie of every actor. Like, I was like that.
Sit down.
I agree
with the liner notes and the artwork, and you got the headphones on, and you just took it all in. And I thought, plus, back then, it's like the only way that we got our news was from, specifically in the hair metal, quote unquote, as much as I hate that fucking term, genre. It's like, we had magazines like Metal Edge, we had Hit Parader, we had Circus, and that's what all those magazines were about, and that's where we got our news. I mean, there was no metal sludge.
Yeah.
It really, and you just read those things, just read them back and forth and put the pictures up, and, then the swimsuit issue would come out, and you put all the titties up.
Right.
Or
for me, it was the Britney Spears posters when I was that age.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that would have been pedophilia.
Right. Well, I was 14.
Yeah,
so.
See, there you go. You're fine. I remember seeing when that first single came out, seeing it in the fucking in the music stores. We used to have these things called music stores back then, where they had all albums and CDs and tapes and posters and all this shit.
Crazy the way they sexualized that 17-year-old.
Oh my God, your lawyer's like, oh, that's hot. Oh shit, she's 16. No. Ooh, no.
That is one of the things that's better about the movement now. Is like, it's like we're not getting into that, but
right,
crazy. But yeah, Britney Spears was a fave.
Right. Well, I mean, shit. Back in the 70s and even in the 80s, so many songs were about underage girls. Christine 16 by Kiss. Chevy Van was about mounting a 15-year-old in a van.
That all really started in like, the late 60s, early 70s.
Yep, exactly.
Where it was just, I don't know. Culture's weird because it's circular and it ends up repeating itself, but in different ways. Like, it'll repeat itself, but it'll be in a different mask, and you'll start to see the trends, and it's very interesting.
back to the Chicago thing really quick. Have you heard from anybody out that wasn't in the film since it aired?
In what?
And like, hey, I wasn't in this, but I thought you did a really good job. Or was there any dialogue with anybody that wasn't in the film?
Well, I had dialogue with everybody who was in the band to be in the film, and then everyone who said yes is in the movie. So right. I think afterwards there was one member whose family had come to me, and I just didn't respond, and they messaged me on Facebook and were like, "How dare you not mention or put my dad in this?" And it was a member who had been there for 3 or 4 years, and I had asked him to be in it, and he just I can't really remember, he either didn't respond or had said like maybe, or well, you can do it at my place, but he lived in somewhere else. And so I'll just say it was Laudir. He's recently passed, Laudir de Oliveira, but he was in Brazil, and he had asked if I wanted to go to Brazil, and I would have done it, but we just didn't have the budget for that. And I would have flown him out, but they either don't respond or they say, well, let's talk about it this time. And like Gercio was one, their producer, who I had been in dialogues with these people for a year, and he kept doing the yes, but never setting up a date. So
gotcha. That's
a lot of it. And it's like I said, I get it because the band's funding it. They're probably not going to say great things about you because there was an acrimonious separation. So
right.
We did the best we could, and I think the people who did it because I was a young guy, and they wanted to give me a chance to do it, and they believed me, and I'm glad they did because I think that the movie turned out great. I obviously wish that Peter Cetera and people like that had done it, but at the same time, I'm not losing sleep over it.
Right. Scotty wants to know if any other bands approached you to do a show on them.
There's been a couple times where I've talked with people, but it just didn't work out. And it's just another reason why it's a miracle that the other one even got made, just because it's so hard to get a movie made. And people, I don't know what they think goes into making one, but you have meetings and it's going really well. And then it comes to talking about the money aspect of it, about how you're going to fund it. And then magically the talks stop. And I don't think
right.
I don't think people necessarily think you're going to work for free or that the movie just costs nothing, but they're so jazzed on we could have one of these too, and then it comes to the point of having to find the money and they just kind of flame out.
Gotcha. Are you afraid about being the band documentary guy?
No, because I've only done one.
Well,
I'd do more if if I could do a legitimate one like Chicago and get the budget to do it, I'd be dumb not to do it.
Right.
I mean, Martin Scorsese is one of my, I guess, biggest influences, and he's still doing band documentaries. He just did one on Bob Dylan and the Rolling Thunder Review, which is funny because we reference Martin Scorsese about 5 times in a movie I made last year, and we called it Rolling Thunder. And
I was just going to ask you about that.
And then the title came out on a Martin Scorsese movie, and I'm like, we're not going to change the title. Like,
of course not.
We'll just keep it. People will watch this movie, and then they're not going to forget about it, but then ours will come out, and it'll be just another movie.
Right. So did I read this right, that you filmed this whole thing in one day?
Yeah. I come from documentaries, and so I have a very keen sense of what feels real and what doesn't feel real. And I had this idea that we could do an entire feature film in one day if it was about the making of a bad short film. So what we would do is my friend and I, Jake, who is in the movie, he's the lead, and we wrote it together. And if we could write a really bad short film, and then we call in all the favors we have, get everybody to be in the movie, and have them basically show up to this so-called movie set and be themselves. I thought if we get 7-8 cameras and film a behind the scenes of it, you could probably cull 80 minutes out of that if you split it up into 4 parts.
Yeah.
4 scenes, 4 parts. And it's 80-something minutes. And, we got Joe Mantegna in it. We got Wes Studi, who just won an Academy Award, an honorary Oscar. Serena Scott Thomas. Vinny's in it.
Of course Vinny's in it.
Vinny's in it as a trainer.
No.
Named Chase.
Was he wearing the conch shell?
Oh my God, that would have been great.
Is that in the that picture? Is that in the Fat movie? Ah, damn it.
And then Chicago came and played themselves in it.
Oh, nice.
So it was really cool, and it ended up being 80 plus minutes, and really proud of it. And now it's just trying to get it out there. Same deal.
Gotcha.
So.
First half of the show brought to you by Beater Amplification, ladies and gentlemen. All this music talk. Beater Amplification, badass rock and roll tones out of these amps. 100 watts of testicular fortitude, hand-built, hand-wired. Pull 2 tubes and you have yourself a 50. And the Izzy Presley TCB1 edition will be coming out soon. They're building it right now. Rather excited for that. One more question before we go to break here. Sledgehammer wants to know, can you ask him what his favorite music-based movies are? I like Blues Brothers, Crossroads, and Across the Universe.
So if we're talking about narrative, Almost Famous has got to be up at the top.
Oh, yeah. People forget to put that in the music type movies.
I think that's my favorite. I love one I saw a couple years ago, Love and Mercy, which is about Brian Wilson mainly.
Okay.
The making of just everything. It's like a split into two. It starts in the beginning of their career when he's writing Pet Sounds and working on Pet Sounds, and then it jumps to like 20 years later. But there's a lot of great ones, but I'd say those two are near the top.
And of course, he mentioned the greatest movie of all time, bar none, The Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers, great.
Greatest car chases.
Steven Spielberg cameo at the end.
There you go. I was going to say, greatest cameos, songs you know and remember and want to listen to again. Princess Leia was a badass. What else? The only thing it's missing is titty. It's the only thing.
Is there no nudity in that?
There's no nudity in it.
Interesting, because John Landis, the director, had a lot of movies with nudity.
Stripes.
He had Kentucky Fried Movie.
Oh, that's classic.
And Animal House.
Yep. Did he do Stripes?
Ivan Reitman.
Ivan Reitman. There you go. All right, we're going to take a short little minute and a half break. We'll be right back with more Peter Pardini right here on another fucking podcast.
If you need to promote your band or business, or just want to stylize, personalize, or customize your ride, check out vid-decals.com. Want to create and customize your own stickers representing your band, or make your own bumper sticker? Vid Decals can do it. All stickers are printed on quality vinyl and can be placed on any flat surface. Stickers are an affordable way to promote your band or business. Go to vid-decals.com to get started. That's vid-decals.com. vid-decals.com.
RockstarLeatherworks.com is your home for badass rock and roll gear. Featuring 100% handmade leather bands, watches, cuffs, bracelets, and more, Rockstar Leatherworks has something for everybody. Whether you are going to the show or you are in it, you can find something to fit your needs. Choose from a variety of designs or create your own masterpiece. Their bands and watches are second to none. They also ship internationally. Who needs a stage to be a rock star? Check out RockstarLeatherworks.com.
Retro Arcade brings Minnesota and surrounding areas arcade games from the days gone by. All of those great games from pizza joints and arcades are available in cocktail units and custom machines. Dozens of favorites from your youth in one machine to complete your game room or man cave. Retro Arcade also sells and services your favorite pinball machines. Find them at facebook.com/80arcade. That's facebook.com/80arcade. Retro Arcade. Your youth is just one click away.
Hey, what's going on? This is Tom Arnold. I like fat women and cocaine. And you're listening to Izzy Presley here on another fucking podcast. And I know Izzy from Cocaine Anonymous meetings. I've actually seen him at the meetings with Ace Von Johnson from I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but Ace has got a bad coke problem. And his sponsor is Josh Todd from, and again, I shouldn't say this out loud, but Josh is his sponsor for Buck Cherry. He's addicted to upskirt porn. And they're both being sponsored by the Eagles. The whole band, the Eagles. Anyways, another fucking podcast right here with Izzy Presley, and call your sponsor. Fucking A.
I know I play that every week, but I can't help it. It's just so goddamn funny. I was pissed. Craig invited me down to a show on Sunday night at the Comedy Store, but I had to work. It's rather bummed. I was rather bummed. Second half of the show brought to you by AFP Laser Engraving. Check them out on Facebook, AFP Laser Engraving. And they're so good they can laser engrave a hot dog bun. But you catch them at gun shows up in the upper Midwest. Get your sidearm done. They can do anything you want. I know Father's Day and all that kind of good stuff is done, so you don't have to order anything for that. But hey, maybe mom or dad's birthday is coming up. Get them something nice from AFP Laser Engraving. Check them out on Facebook and find their website. And also John Palumbo Design. We love us some John Palumbo over here at Another Effing Podcast. Need a band logo, you need a website, anything designed. John Palumbo Design. Peter Pardini in studio with us, talking about the Chicago documentary. And I'm going to talk about Vinnie Tortorich's movie in a little bit here. But I did want to talk about like the business side of it. And you were talking about, it's like before about, you know, people that approached you. It's like, all right, where's the money? And then all of a sudden, boom, it's done. What's the best way about going to get money? Obviously, Vinny did, you know, the crowdfunding thing, but Vinny's got a following, so it was easy for him to do that. You know, Corolla does the same thing. You know, people that are just starting out, I mean, where do you start?
Well, in my experience, it's always been pretty much 100% based on, does the project have some type of cash behind it, CACHE, just something that gives it some type of clout so that people feel comfortable giving money to it. So like for Vinny, obviously he's been training people and giving nutritional advice for decades, and people feel like, hey, I lost 80 pounds, I'll give you $80 for the amount I lost.
Yeah.
And so that was actually, ironically, for production, the biggest budget I've ever had. Is this fat documentary. I mean, with Chicago, I actually don't know like the actual production budget. I know that it ended up being a lot more than that because of licensing and clearing footage, because the difference between doing a music documentary and a documentary that's more educational like Fat is that for a music documentary, you have to pay for everything because you need every piece of footage to look the best. So that means you have to ask for it and then pay for it when they give it to you. You have to pay for all the music, even though the people in the movie were the ones who wrote it. So it's a lot more complicated. But I would say, I mean, for Rolling Thunder, that was $35,000, and that all that money came from Chicago fans who had seen my previous work.
Oh, wow.
So in the past, we did Indiegogos for smaller projects. So like we raised, I think, $24,000 for a movie I did a few years ago called Black Cat. That was all from people from basically friends from Fresno, family members. But you can only go to that well so many times.
Right.
I mean, you can get maybe 150 people to put an average of $150 up or whatever it ended up being.
Yeah.
And hope that a few give you $1,000. But it's just so draining to have to go to people who are giving you the money versus like with Fat, there were, I think, 3,500 people who gave, so we could get an average of $40, and it ended up giving us what we needed. But for Rolling Thunder, I got 3 people to put up the $35,000, but they actually get a back end if something happens from it.
Yeah. So that was like a loan. That was like, refund this as long as we get the money back.
Basically, like, and it's just an investment. I mean, once the movie is sold, they're getting money. There's a contract to say so, and that's, I think, what it comes down to is there has to be at least some sort of promise of something back if the movie makes anything. And you know, Chicago obviously has been around for 50 years, so they were able to do it themselves. And you know, in terms of budgets over $35,000, though, I've only done that twice. So, and it's ironically the 2 documentaries I've made are the ones that had the biggest budget.
Right. But then again, there's that other side of the documentaries is where, you know, documentaries don't make money.
They can, but yeah, they generally don't. And, you know, with Fat, I mean, was funded by the people, and we've got a great distributor. And now it's just about getting it out there and just getting people to see it.
Right. Yeah, documentaries for the most part.
It's never going to be about making money.
This is a passion piece. It's like, yeah, that's what it is. It's a passion piece. You know?
All that money. I mean, all of it was spent, plus some of, you know, Vinny's, you know, in order to make that documentary. And when you see it, you'll see like the production value is I'm pretty confident to say it's higher than any other health-related documentary I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, even just, watching the trailer for it, it was like, wow, this looks really good.
And that's John Honoré. That's my cinematographer who, he's a pro. And I've learned that if you have the money there, you need to spend it on lighting. You need to spend it on production design and sound. Those are the things that are going to make your movie or break it, because, especially in a documentary, because people can just go onto Wikipedia or they can Google something. Or, it's very easy to go online and learn about the ketogenic diet. But if you want to see it in movie form, it's got to be compelling, and it's got to be something that you're going to sit there for 90 minutes.
Right. Well, I think especially nowadays too, it's like everybody is so just ADD. They don't sit down and read an entire thing. They just read, okay, yeah, all right, next.
Yep.
Whatever. And you
don't retain information that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but you can present something in this kind of form where they'll sit down and watch how long is the film?
I think it's 87 or 80.
Okay,
it's about 90 with credits.
Yeah, so it's about the length of a regular movie.
Or maybe 95. It has a really long credits because of all the people who donated.
Right.
It's about 7 minutes. 6 minutes of the credits is just the names of the people who gave money. So,
and you got hooked up with Vinny through Corolla, correct?
Yeah. I had listened to Vinny because of listening to Adam Carolla, and then I was going on Corolla to promote the Chicago movie and ran into him there. And I said, hey, I listened to your podcast. I've lost a certain amount of weight doing this. And that's it. And then we connected somehow a few months later. I went on his podcast. And that day we were like, let's make a movie. I didn't even go into it like with that intent. Like we went and did the podcast. And then he was like, oh, everyone's telling me it's going to cost $500,000, $1 million. And I said, no, it won't. I know I know how to get people to do this in terms of just, I know their rates. I know how we can do it economically, pay them what they're worth, but also just plan it out. There's these low carb conventions where we're going to have our entire cast is going to be at this thing.
Yep.
And we just go and interview them over 2 days. And then the people we don't get, we either fly in or have come to your house and we shoot the rest of them the other 2 days. And that's 4 days of shooting. Even if you're spending $30,000 a day on people's pay, lighting, production design, everything that goes into it, that's all we need.
Yeah, exactly. I got to know this. After somebody I've been a runner, I've stalked Crafty, I've been on set, I've seen Crafty, and that's craft services for people not in the business.
All you
that's
small
catering.
people.
All you small people. What is catering
that was
like?
A joke.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Oh wait, well, let's give it the Pat Fontaine laugh.
Yeah.
There we go. What's catering like at a Vinnie Tortorich movie shoot?
It was NSNG. We basically just had. It's actually pretty hard to find NSNG catering. That's not the lunches were easy, but when you're trying to get snacks, it's not easy.
No, it's not.
You can get little, I guess, veggies, but it was salami, and we kind of made that concession. Like we're not going to find any salami that doesn't have a little bit of corn syrup or a little, at least dextrose, and it was just basically lunch meats and cheese and vegetables and heavy cream.
Yay, another veggie tray. Yeah.
But it's like, man, I don't eat that many vegetables.
I don't either.
I honestly I've never been healthier in terms of just how I feel and blood numbers. And
yeah. How long have you been doing the Vinny diet?
I started in, I think, I want to say August of 2017.
Okay.
And I had lost weight a few years earlier. I was 260 and got down to 170, but then gained it back because I didn't know what I was doing. I went on the road with the band, and I was moving a lot and basically cut carbs down, but I still didn't really know. I ate pretty much whatever I wanted in that general consensus of don't eat bread, don't have a ton of sugar, and kind of ran with my head cut off. But this time, it's still a learning curve because you get a book as great as Anna Vocino's, Eat Happy. You get that, and
got it down there. Yeah.
And she even says it. It's like you have to listen to what these people are saying because they say this isn't an every night. Like, you can't have these snacks every night. Like, you can't have the pizza every night. You can't have... And at the beginning, I'm like, well, it's NSNG. I can have it. And I was losing weight because I was heavy. I started at 240, and I got down to 225 pretty easily. Then it took me a little longer to get down to 216, 217. And then I was stuck at, like, 215 for a good year. Like, a good year stuck. And Vinny told me the entire time, he's like, try cutting down on the heavy cream. And I was like, yeah, but it's high fat. And he's like, yeah, but I'm telling you, there's some people who have a lactose problem or a dairy problem, and I don't care how much it is you're having, just try it. And I never did. And then I did, and I've lost almost 20 pounds in 2 months.
Just by getting rid of the heavy cream.
I got rid of all dairy, and then I have completely cut down on pretty much most carbs. I have under 5 carbs a day. And
so what do you eat as far as carbs? Because I'm a tubby guy, and I always say, I'm all right, I'm doing this, and I do it, and then like 3 days later, I'm like, because I drive Lyft, so I'm in my fucking car all night.
I'm basically doing a modified carnivore.
Okay.
Like, at this point, because I'm getting married in October, so I'm trying to get down. Thank you. I'm trying to get down as much as possible before then. I'm not going to do it forever because it is doing carnivore is pretty restrictive. I mean, it's like there's still food out there. I still want to cheat every once in a while.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to live every once in a while.
You got to live.
You know?
And so basically, I stuck to the tenets of a loose carnivore where you can still have like eggs. So, and I'm less hungry than ever. Like, I haven't eaten today. You can tell my energy level's fine.
Yeah.
I've had a couple coffees, no cream, nothing, just nitro cold brew from Starbucks. And I'll go home and I'll eat. I'm planning on eating bacon and scallops tonight.
Atta kid. Was it hard for you to adjust to just black coffee?
Yes, because I love cream. I love the cream in the coffee, and it took not that hard. I mean, it took 4 days, 3-4 days, because I get the cold brew with the nitro in it, so it has a creamy taste to it, even though there's no cream in it. But it's weird, man. Like, I don't espouse for doing strict carnivore. Like, I don't think you should just eat red meat but for any other reason than olive oil is not bad for you.
No, it's not.
I mean, I have butter and eggs with it, so it's not completely meat, but at the same time, it's like, you know, the funniest thing to me about all of this NSNG, or we'll just call it keto versus veganism, is that they're both the same exact thing, except for the meat.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. If you're going to eat strict keto, and it's not a very restrictive diet, I say strict in terms of like under 20 carbs or whatever it is to get into ketosis, it is not any different than a vegan diet except for the meat. So you have to start asking yourself the question, well, is meat bad for you? No, it's not. No, because it's not. we interviewed a bunch of doctors. I'm not going to say, just because the doctors I interviewed said this, it's true. But I had high cholesterol, or borderline high. The doctors told me, you got to cut down on whatever you're doing that's giving you that. I started doing this, like really doing it, eating nothing but saturated fat mixed with like macadamia nuts and olive oil. And this is when I first did it. All of my numbers went to normal. Eating nothing but the things that I had been told forever would raise cholesterol. So I started to think, well, that sort of makes sense. And we interviewed this guy, Dave Feldman, who you've probably heard of.
Yep.
He found that he could manipulate his cholesterol tests by just 3 days before a test. He would just have 5,000 calories a day, nothing but saturated fat, high cholesterol, and all of his cholesterol would go down.
Jesus Christ!
Except for the good kind.
Yeah,
the good
that's
kind would go
insane.
up a little bit. And his theory, and he tests it rigorously, and he tried this on a group of, I think, like 100 people or something, and I don't know the exact percentage. It was a high percentage. It was like 80% it worked on. And his theory is that the more, and it's true, the more you eat, the less your body will make. The less you eat, the more your body will make. So there's some people who have low cholesterol who have heart attacks. There's something to getting to that median number and not worrying if one number's a little high, because it's not always just because your LDL's high that you're in trouble. It has something to do with particle size, and I can't think of the word for it, but the difference between it has something to do with your insulin resistance.
Gotcha.
So if you're insulin resistant, and then you're dealing with high cholesterol, they're combined that way. They are related in that sense, but high cholesterol on its own doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. Jacobus checking in. Thanks for coming on the show. So much awesome information. Learning a ton. Awesomeness. And also says, Izzy loves the cream too.
I used to have a lot of it, man. Like,
I don't think he was talking about heavy whipping cream.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Jacobus, he
was a
went
little bit
there.
of an innuendo.
Yeah, that was about, something that comes out of your cock.
Oh.
So the Vinny movie, it's up for pre-order now. You can get it on, you all heard at the beginning of the show, the ad that Anna reads. You can pre-order it on iTunes, Amazon as well, correct?
Amazon. So the thing now is that the price for the Blu-ray is the same as the price as the digital on iTunes. So if you want the Blu-ray copy, you can go to Amazon, and if you just want the digital, it's on iTunes. They're both $12.99 as of now. It might change by then, but with pre-order, I don't think you're charged until the movie comes out. So whatever the lowest price, Amazon will obviously give you that price. So.
Does the Blu-ray come with a download, or is it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not yet. I mean, I'm sure that Amazon at some point will have like the $3.99 rental or something, but it's just, as far as I know, the movie on Blu-ray or DVD right now.
I was just curious about that because obviously, you buy the Star Wars movies and they come with the free download.
Right.
So you can...
I don't think it's that intricate.
Damn it. Damn you, Vinny.
They do have the download on iTunes, though. So if you want the movie as a download on your computer, you can get it there.
All right. Very well. Very, very well. People want to find you. Where can they find you?
PeterPardini.com, and I don't really use it. I got off social media last year, and I feel great about it. But I do have an Instagram, which is also Peter Pardini.
And you have a Facebook page, too, that you don't use.
Peter Curtis Pardini, writer-director, I think is what it's called.
Is it weird not being on social media, especially when you have stuff to promote?
I've been off Facebook for a year and a half, and I still almost every day type F into my phone, which tells me that it's. I'm glad I got off of it. I had to tell myself that my mental health was more important than seeing what someone's doing somewhere else. Like, yes, promoting things is fine, but I can still promote it.
Yeah,
I don't have to be
true.
People promoted things before the internet. So.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, you don't have to put up with political posts all fucking.
Well, that's the reason
long.
I got off, man. I'm a centrist guy who's got opinions on both sides.
Yeah.
I do lean a certain way a little bit
here.
more, but I'm not. I would never call myself a certain thing, and it frustrated me to no end to see just things I agreed with too. And just nonstop all day long, just political posts. And it's like, I'm outraged too over things, but I don't need to be doubly outraged and just make myself feel worse. I can be outraged in my own time. Right.
Well, I mean, I'm like the exact same way too. And it's like, I don't post political shit on social media, cause it's like, yeah, I get pissed off about something, but I think about it like a rational human being and don't have to, lash out about it. But I mean, there's shit like I talked about.
Don't get me wrong. I get angry in private.
Oh yeah.
But it's like having body odor. Everyone already knows you feel that way. And I agree with you. But at the same time, I don't need to, I can do it in person with people if I want to talk about it. And I just didn't, seeing, especially around the election, just both sides just arguing and arguing. It's like, you start to wonder, wait, which side do I agree with? It's like, do I agree with that or do I agree with that? It's like they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's fill in the blank this name. And
yep.
It's just, for me, I'm much happier just thinking it when I think it, but then not also logging onto a website and then seeing someone else think the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's like now you're just logging on to pull a muscle, rolling your eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, dude. Thank you so much for coming by, man. This is
Absolutely.
a lot of fun, man. We'll have you back after the next Star Wars movie comes out.
Yeah, sure.
We'll do a little.
It looks better. I like the new one. Looks
I can't wait, dude. I can't wait. Peter Pardini, everybody, check out the Vinny movie, Fat, a documentary, and of course the Chicago movie, which is called
Now More Than Ever: The History of Chicago. It is on Netflix.
There you go. Thank you so much. Let me hit the outro music here. All right, we'll be back on Thursday with another episode of the Izzy Presley Show. Thursday night, you might want to come down for this. At the Grafton in Hollywood, we do this show once a month. It's called Punchlines and Backlines.
Nice.
5 comedians, 1 musician. Catches a musician, has to do stand-up comedy for the first time ever, and the musician plays at the end of the show.
It's like Saturday Night Live.
Exactly. Starts at 8. We'll be out of there by 11. Grafton on Sunset on Thursday night. Come on down if you are in town. Scotty says that was a really great show. Thanks, guys. No, Scotty, thank you. Scotty's been dabbling in that Vinny diet, too. That's what I love about having Vinny on. I don't care if it helps one person, as long as it helps one person. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week on this show. Chris Wise from Owl, formerly of the Ace Frehley Band, formerly of the Cult, and now also in the Hollywood Vampires, will be on Tuesday night. And hopefully I'll have a Vegas story for you on Monday. Don't forget, what I lack in talent, I do make up for in cock. It is another fucking podcast.